Welcome, learners, to Econ with me. This is the second part of Consumers Equilibrium Utility Analysis chapter. So, let's see what we will learn in this chapter. Number 1, Law of Diminishing Marginal Utility. Number 2, Consumers Equilibrium, one commodity case. Number 3, Consumers Equilibrium, two commodity case. So, let's begin with the first point, that is law of diminishing marginal utility. So learners, in this law, first focus upon the word diminishing. So what does the diminishing word means? It means declining or reducing. So this law revolves around the concept that the marginal utility declines or reduces. So let's see the formal definition. That is, as more and more unit of a commodity is consumed, the marginal utility derived from each successive units tends to decline. So learners, if you can recall that in the earlier video in which we defined the relationship between TU and MU, the number one point was also this. It was just followed by the sentence that it can even become 0 and negative. So, this is what the law of diminishing marginal utility defines, that as more and more units of a commodity is consumed, the MU derived from each successive units tends to diminish. For example, you are very hungry, so you have one roti. Okay, then you have two roti. All right, your hunger decreases. And you have three rotis. Okay, your hunger more decreases. Then you have four rotis. Your hunger decreases much further than the first roti. And after five rotis, you can no longer have any roti because your hunger is satisfied. So the decrease in hunger, which with each successive unit of roti, is what defining the law of diminishing marginal utility. Okay, so let's move further. It is applicable to all goods and services. Okay. Third point is, it is also called fundamental law of satisfaction or fundamental psychological law. Now we will make table explaining the law of diminishing marginal utility. So this table will have two columns, units and MU. And I don't know if you can remember, learners, that this is the same table that we have drawn in the earlier video where we explained the relationship between TU and MU. So in the first column, you will write units from 0 to 6, and in the second column, you will write MU from 8 to minus 2, that is decreasing to minus 2. And if you want to draw TU, you can also draw TU column. So in the table, we can clearly see that as the units of the commodity is increased from 0 to 6, the MU declines from 8 to minus 2. So as more and more units of a commodity is consumed, the MU derived from each successive units tends to diminish. After this, we will draw diagram of the MU. So the diagram of MU is also same that we have drawn in the earlier video. So as we are talking about MU, we will just draw the diagram of MU. On y-axis it is MU and on x-axis it is units. So just make the diagram, and this is how we will explain the law of diminishing marginal utility.
Now we will move toward our next point of discussion, that is consumers equilibrium, one commodity case. First, we will understand what is consumer equilibrium. So consumer equilibrium refers to a situation. It is a situation of maximum satisfaction while the consumer is spending his given income across different goods. So, consumer equilibrium is a situation of maximum satisfaction while the consumer is spending his given income across different goods. So, in one commodity case, first we will understand the purchase of commodity depends upon how many factors and what are the name of those factors. So, in one commodity case, purchase of a commodity by the consumer depends upon three factors. Number one, price of the commodity. Number two, marginal utility of the commodity. And number three, marginal utility of money, which is known as worth of a rupee. It refers to the utility that a consumer will derive by spending a rupee.
Let's see what is its assumption. So, in one commodity case, we assume that marginal utility of money is constant, which is MUM is constant. So, number one, let marginal utility of money equals to 4 utils. Let X be the commodity that the consumer tends to buy. Let PX equals to rupees 4. So the major assumption is that the marginal utility of money is constant. Then we further assume that the marginal utility of money equals to 4 utils and X is the commodity that the consumer tends to buy, and let PX be rupees 4. Afterwards, we will make a table of marginal utility. So we will make a marginal utility table of X with two columns. In first column there would be units of X, and in second column there will be MUX. So we will write units from 1 to 6 and MUX from 20, 18, 16, 10, 0 and minus 5. So now there is a decision of how many units of X to be purchased by the consumer where he gets maximum satisfaction or reach equilibrium. Right? So the question is, how many units of X will the consumer purchase where he will get his maximum satisfaction or will reach the equilibrium? So, will the consumer buy first unit of X? Yes, he will buy the first unit of the commodity. And how do we know that? We know that by applying the formula of equilibrium. So what is the formula of equilibrium? It is Px equals to MUX upon MUM. Now we will put the value from the table and the assumption. So Px is 4. MUX we will look up in the table. It is 20. And MUM as we assumed is 4. So what he pays, which is rupees 4, is less than what he gets, which is 5. So what he pays is less than the satisfaction he gets, so he will definitely buy the first unit of the commodity. Likewise, will he buy the second unit of the commodity? Yes, again we will apply the formula, we will put the values and we find the same result, that what he pays, which is 4 rupees 4, is less than the satisfaction of what he gets, which is 4.5. Now let's go toward the third unit. So will he buy the third unit of the commodity? Yes, he will buy the third unit of the commodity. Again we will apply the formula Px equals to MUX upon MUM. We will put down the values, but this time there is a difference, that the Px is equals to the satisfaction he gets, as both of them are equal. 4 equals to 4. So yes, he will purchase the third unit of the commodity, because at this point the consumer strike his equilibrium, because what he pays is equals to
the satisfaction he gets. Thus, consumer equilibrium strike when Px is equals to MUX upon MUM. At last, we will make the diagram. On y-axis, we will write utility, and on x-axis, we will write units. Learners, make the diagram as it is made here. After making it, we will explain it. As the diagram is drawn on the assumption that MUM is constant, and in such a situation, consumer's equilibrium is struck where Px equals to MUX upon MUM. At last, we will study about consumer's equilibrium to commodity case. So, as the name suggests, here the consumer will purchase two commodities, and we will see how the consumer strikes equilibrium across these two commodities. So, consider a situation when the consumer is buying commodities X and Y with his given income. He strikes his equilibrium for commodity X at MUX upon PX equals to MUM. So learners, I hope you can recall that it is the same formula that we have learned in the earlier part of the video, right? So MUX upon PX equals to MUM can also be written as PX equals to MUX upon MUM. So we will term it as equation number 1. Now, equation number 2. For commodity Y, because it is the other commodity, for commodity Y, consumer will strike equilibrium when the same formula, just in place of X, you will write Y. MUY upon PY equals to MUM, which again can also be written as PY equals to MUY upon MUM. So if we combine equation number 1 and 2 and consider a situation when a consumer is buying both commodities X and Y, consumer strikes his equilibrium when MUX upon PX equals to MUY upon PY, which is equals to MUM. It implies that consumer's equilibrium in two commodity case is struck where the rupee worth of marginal utility is same as the marginal utility of money. In other words, the ratio of marginal utility to price is equal across both of the goods. Now we will make the diagram. So learners, make diagrams as it is shown here. Write YUX on the left hand side as well as right hand side. Write utility, draw MUM, and then MUX, MUY. Just remember that from left to right, it is showing consumption of commodity X, and from right to left, it is showing consumption of commodity Y. So this is how the consumer's equilibrium to commodity case is explained.